No chance of escaping the heat this 4th of July, but we wouldn't have it any other way, right? Thanks for joining us tonight. I am Rolly Hoyt.
And I'm Faith Woodard. Chief Meteorologist Tom Brandon. I'm told it'll be hotter than a firecracker? Firework?
Fireworks.
Firecracker.
Hotter than a firecracker on the 4th of July. There is an escape, Rolly. It's called a movie theater. Remember the big blockbusters? I think the Jurassic Park movies are out this weekend. I might do that. Got a little time off coming up. After noon highs today, only in the 80s to low 90s. 91 Little Rock. That was the high. That was the projected high today. Tomorrow, a little bit warmer than that. In all, not too terribly bad outside. Behind the front, some drier air moving in and some cloud cover that has helped keep the temperatures down in some locations. Look at Harrison. They're 80 currently. Little Rock 87, but it's still 95 Camden, 94 down in Texarkana. Here's the way things shape up for you as we move through the hour by hour tonight. We'll see those numbers cool off into the middle 70s with cloud cover thickening up overnight tonight. There could be a stray shower or two over southwest Arkansas. Here it is, the payoff pitch for your 3-day forecast. Heading into the holiday weekend, we are going to see temperatures slowly go up. Humidity levels should be in check until we hit the latter part of the weekend, and rain chances are in the forecast. We'll discuss in a few minutes.
Tom, thank you. Tonight, there's a new roadblock in the effort to enshrine Arkansas's citizen-led ballot process. The Attorney General rejecting another proposed amendment, citing a new law that just took effect.
Our Rebecca Brown sat down with one of the group's leaders who says this fight is about more than just language.
This spring, state lawmakers passed several new laws that reshape how constitutional amendments make it to your ballot.
The legislature proposed several bills that would restrict or almost entirely remove the ability of citizens to propose constitutional amendments. This is something that's really special about Arkansas, is the people's ability to have a say in what their constitution says.
One of those new laws, Act 602, says strict readability rules, and now twice the Attorney General has rejected Protect Our Rights' proposed ballot language, saying it doesn't meet the state's new standards.
Unfortunately, it's pretty difficult to propose a constitutional amendment without using the word constitution, which has a lot of syllables. And so it's very difficult to meet that 8th grade reading level standard.
Samuel Watson, the content director for Protect Our Rights, says the group is now taking a two-pronged approach, challenging the law in court while also reworking the language for a third time.
We filed a motion to intervene in a lawsuit that had already been filed, but there's really only so much that we can do to try to meet that 8th grade reading standard before we start sacrificing a lot of legal clarity and stability in our amendment.
A concern amplified by how difficult it's already been in past years.
5 or 6 were proposed and only one of them ended up being on people's ballot.
So far, the AG has rejected the group's second admission, citing that its ballot ranked at a grade level of 11.5, far above the 8th grade threshold. And while lawmakers say the goal is to make ballot language clearer for voters, Watson argues the opposite is happening.
They've passed many, many laws, dozens of laws, saying that your ballot title has to have this component or has to read in this specific way. And so it's kind of their own fault that this process is so complicated, The call is coming from inside the House.
In Little Rock, Rebecca Brown, THV 11 News.
Now, we also reached out to the Secretary of State's office for a comment. In a statement, they say Secretary Jester has full faith in the Attorney General and his legal team.
Walmart security cameras helped police bring charges against the family of a Rogers teen accused in a 2022 murder. Investigators have been looking for 14-year-old Alejandro Zenon Reyes after the discovery of 17-year-old Alexis Wynn during a shooting in April of that year. Court documents indicate Zenon Reyes escaped to Mexico, with family members arrested for helping him get there. Now, prosecutors have released images secured from Walmart's Global Investigation Unit. They allegedly show the family helping the teen at a Dallas store. Zenon Reyes returned to the U.S. in January. He has pleaded not guilty to charges of manslaughter, tampering with evidence, and gun possession.
Well, we have new details to report on storm recovery in Arkansas. FEMA is reminding people of the 60-day period to file an appeal after a decision is made on your disaster assistance request. According to FEMA, the best way to build your defense is to carefully examine your decision letter. To create a stronger appeal, it's encouraged to send in any repair estimates or receipts. Providing property titles and deeds will also support an appeal. Be sure that your form itself is fully completed with your FEMA application number posted on every single page. The big push to get President Trump's big, beautiful bill passed is getting pushback from healthcare advocates.
Yeah, the budget makes changes to how Medicaid works, and as our Maya Ellison reports, that has some here in the healthcare industry worried.
The Vice President votes in the affirmative. The bill as amended is passed.
The main goal of President Trump's sweeping legislation is to extend the tax cuts Congress approved back in 2017. It would also add eliminating taxes on tips and overtime. But to pay for those cuts, the plan aims to reduce how much the federal government spends on Medicaid.
It's very frustrating.
Neil Reeves, health policy chair for Arkansas Nurses Association, is back from D.C. after lobbying against those Medicaid plans. The bill calls for new work requirements and a freeze on something called, quote, provider taxes. Both will affect hospital budgets and the nurses who work in those hospitals.
So roughly a third of our state is on Medicaid and stand to potentially be affected by any kind of cuts. And some of the cuts could be something as simple as they're putting a pause on some of the provider taxes, meaning there's no increase. We may see providers shut their doors. We may see hospitals shut their doors because financially they just can no longer survive.
Millions of dollars are at stake with more than 800,000 people enrolled in Medicaid right here in Arkansas. And after a federal judge stopped an earlier attempt by Arkansas to put work requirements in place in 2018, Reeves worries those problems will return.
If this passes, is Medicaid patients today have to recertify once a year, and the proposed changes says now they need to do it every 6 months. And so it's already a complicated system, and now we're further jeopardizing their health care because now they have no health insurance whatsoever.
Republicans in Congress dispute the effects critics are predicting, but to Reeves, if some of the problems he's worried about come true, it will cost the people he represents their lives.
Nurses needing to look for jobs, maybe uproot their family and move to a more populated area to even have a job, or travel great distances to have a job.
In Little Rock, Maya Ellison, THV 11 News.
Maya, thank you. And President Trump put a deadline to get it on his desk by July 4th, but that probably won't happen if the House makes any changes tonight or tomorrow.
Well, something is happening this week at the State House Convention Center. For the first time ever in Arkansas, thousands have come to Little Rock to hear a 9-day recitation of the epic poem, the Ramayana. It's a tradition in the Hindu community to sit and listen to the story, which is full of life lessons. For the first time, organizers have brought the event to Arkansas, and it's being broadcast all across the world.
But its message isn't so different from the stories that I grew up hearing from my parents and grandparents about our shared history, the adventures of great men and women, and the meaning of a life well lived.
The reading continues every day through this Sunday at the Convention Center.
Fairly comfortable night tonight. Temperatures dropping back into the 60s and low to mid 70s here in central Arkansas. A few more clouds to deal with. We've got a chance of showers for the weekend, but hot temperatures are really going to dominate. I'll have that forecast next.